Welcome to this demonstration of exploring a simple star, the Sales Star demo. The way we'll be doing this is to run a project to generate a cube and view the cube in Excel, but essentially you'll be viewing the underlying data from the star. Before you start this demonstration, could you please ensure that on the SQL server that you've already downloaded and attached the Sales Star demo and the Sales Star assignment databases. Also, please can you ensure that you have already downloaded from Blackboard into the D:projects folder the Sales Star demo and the Sales Star assignment folders, and then unzip them as you've shown here. We strongly suggest that you delete the zip file, otherwise it's ever so easy to get confused which of these two you're in. The Sales Star demo is the one that the tutors will normally use for explanations. The Sales Star assignment is meant to be an almost equivalent copy of the demo, but it's the one that you can regularly alter for your assignment. By the end of the module, the assignment one would be quite a bit different from the demo. But let's start for the moment by going into demo again, and then find the Sales Star demo solution file, and either double click this to open it, or, because you don't get much of a visual response when you double click it, click open, and then be prepared to wait for ages. My version is loaded much faster because I've been here several times. And what you're seeing is a Visual Studio project with all the instructions for how to take a star and have it converted through to a cube with all its various dimensions. We'll go into the definitions of the cubes in future classes, but for the moment we want to explain just how to take the star into the cube, how to get the cube built, and then explore the data. The process of the cube building is not really the important part for this class. We hope the whole project is set up for you, except for one very important aspect, and it's the connection to the data source, where at the moment we haven't entered your password, because of course we don't know what your password is. So go to the Sales Star demo, right click and open. We can ignore all the configuration thing later, that comes later, but go for the impersonation information, and here almost certainly you'll find a large message saying please enter your own details. Can you enter your login code, such as B000111, and then type in whatever password you've got there. Note that you don't have anything before the B. Yours is just B000111, or whatever your university login code is, and whatever your university password is. And when you've done that, you'll be pressing on OK. Now, if you go to the data source view and right-click open that, you should see a schema of that part of this source database, which is in the SQL server, that we're going to access for this project. And you can see here it's 5 tables. It's got the fact table in the center, and then 4 different dimensions. During the module, we'll show you how to set up a cube with those dimensions. For the moment, because we've already done it, double click on the sales cube, and you may need to recenter, and you'll see that it is an equivalence. The sales star is going to get converted into a cube of very, very similar shape. As we say, we'll do this much more later in the module. For the moment, we want to show how to compile the cube That is, actually build it and then fill it with data. For that, there are several different ways that you'll see during the module. One is to right-click the cube and select Process. A shortcut approach is to go for Start Debugging, and in the debugging, it rebuilds the whole cube. The official way is to go to Cube and select Process Cube. So this time round, let's do that. Very often you'll get a message saying you've been here before, it's out, the contents is out of date. Do you want to continue? Yes, we do. Depending on which of these different methods you've used, you'll get slightly different interface. Because I've been here before, mine went straight for saying it's been deployed successfully, and then I'm struggling a little bit to get this on the screen. I'm going to press the Run button, which for you is probably rather hidden, and it will rebuild the cube. Good, and it's now succeeded. And then close, and I'm going to have to click on the rather hidden close button there. So I've rebuilt the cube. As I say, alternatively, you could have gone for select the cube and process there. Now, once the cube has been processed, we'd like to browse it. And making sure that the cube is selected, find the Browser tab. And again, you may have to wait for a very, very long time for this to react first time round. There is an internal browser to the system, but it's much easier if you find the Excel tab and select this. This will open up Excel. You'll always get the warning about enable, and it should bring out the pivot table list with the cube, or rather the underlying star, but it is the cube we've opened. And the aim of this today's task is to explore and get a feel for how the star is working. So, for example, let's either tick the facts, or we could have dragged it in. Actually, I won't do the count. I'll do the total quantity of things sold. So I'll drag in the total quantity, and it looks here as if we've got something about 750,000 number of items sold. And then let's drill in to some of these. And for example, we could look by dates. Now, for the moment, we haven't studied hierarchies. They come shortly. So just click on More Fields, and you should see the different values that were in the dimension table. And let's ask for year. Drag year down, and we can see, when I move across a little bit, that we've got 3 years worth of data. It's a little bit unfortunate that it's indented like this. It's the number of decimal points that are slightly different, but you can see that actually these values are similar. We'll tidy up the display much more later on. So let's take away year and just go back to the overall. And we could now, for example, look at the different products and the different product names. So let's take this down into here, and we can see the different quantities of products that we've sold. Instead of looking just by product name, let's take this out of the area and bring it back. We could look by the product group. Let's get that. Whoops, down you come. So this is the group. We could choose to look at the group and within that, the product name. So now we see the 2 different sorts of building materials and the 2 different sorts of door materials and so on. The aim of this current demonstration, and we'll leave you to play with this in a few minutes, is to just explore how this works. Let's take these 2 out and go and look at some of the other dimensions. Let's have a look at the branches. Again, ignore the hierarchy for the moment, and we're looking for just exploring the fields. And we could look at which chains sell how much. I'm going to change the quantity. I think I'd like to do a count of how many things they sell. So let's change the measure. And so we can see we've got two different chains that we're selling, the professionals and the DIYs. And we could see which branches are which. So let's take branch underneath the store chain. And so within the chain, we can now see the branch. Again, within the chain, we can see the branch. If we were to reverse the order of those two, we'd come out with a display that isn't really quite as effective. Within the branch, we can see what chain it is. And again, within the branch, we can see what the chain is. But that's not really a sensible display. So let's put it back to as it was. We could do similar for our customers. Let's have a look at the customers and look at where the customers live. So this is the city. Now this time I'm going to put the customer across here so we get the customers across the top. And we can take a second dimension. Let's have a look at what products they buy and bring this for a two-dimensional pivot. And so now we've got a list of all the customers and what they've bought. You may think that this is rather a difficult display to look at. What we could do is add, or rather insert, a graph. Because we've got a two-dimensional display, then perhaps a two-dimensional graph would be effective. Let's have a look at that one. No, that wasn't as effective as I wanted, so I'm going to right-click within the graph area, change the chart type. This time I think I'll look for a line. I wonder if a line chart like that might be a better one. Okay. Oh, good. That's given me some impression that I can see that we've got a very distinct trend of busier and quieter branches, and actually counting up, it looks if we've got one very small branch that's disappeared behind the lines. Let's see what happens if we drag this and pivot the table around. Okay, well, it shows that we can do the pivot, but we haven't ended up with useful information. I'm going to switch them back. And let's look, for example, we're not quite so interested in analysing customers by what products they bought, but let's have a look at which days they shop. I think we can see there it's pretty consistent across all the time. Let's not look at that, but let's look by the month. Ah, that's more interesting. There does appear to be some sort of trend going on over time. So, what we'd like you to do for the rest of this experimentation is to explore the data within this cube by selecting whichever measure you want. You can always change that and look at the value, for example. For the moment, ignore the different hierarchies and just use these attributes directly and explore the data to see what patterns you can see within the data. It's quite often difficult to see the pattern directly via the table, but if you create the table, I was trying to find the way to cut it, there we are, and then whenever you have some data, you can make sure it's the table here is selected and insert and choose whatever sort of display you would like. Goodness knows what this is going to do. Okay, so sometimes you can't do different displays. The aim then is that you relate back to the star and you can understand that the facts table has many, many, many rows. If we can even find out how many rows by asking for the count. So our demonstration facts table has 38,000, nearly 39,000 records. And then it's split into 4 different dimensions. So we can analyze by branches, or by customers, or by dates, or by products. But as you've seen, we can analyze by 2 of those at any one time. We're going to leave it as a bit of a challenge. What happens if you bring in 3? So, for the rest of your time, enjoy playing with this system. And then when you've finished, because you haven't changed anything about the data set at all, you can quite simply close, needn't save anything. You'll be back to the project, and again, you can close this because you haven't changed anything here. The change to your password will have been saved, and so when you come back to the cube in the future, you'll be able to run it. Enjoy playing.